It should be about what we're doing to keep people safe.
Tonight, a slain Ontario police officer is laid to rest amid political infighting.
You have to educate these ignorant racists and tell them that.
Plus, racially charged signs spark outrage.
I gotta give up pretty much all the credit to my teammates.
And humble words from a promising First Nations hockey player.
Good evening, Tansei Aneen, and welcome to APTN National News. I'm Daryl Stranger. Just 4 days into the new year, and Winnipeg has recorded its first homicide, a 23-year-old Indigenous woman. The Winnipeg Police Service is reporting that Star Alicia Thomas was taken to hospital yesterday morning from an apartment fire in the West End. She was in critical condition but died of her injuries, and the Winnipeg Police Homicide Unit is investigating. In 2022, Winnipeg had the highest number of homicide in its history, 53 altogether, including 11 Indigenous women. Today, Ontario Provincial Police Constable Greg Pershala was laid to rest in Barrie, Ontario. He was shot and killed last week during a roadside check, leading politicians to get caught up in the debate over the Liberal government's stance on the bail system. Randall McKenzie of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Brandy Stewart Sperry are charged with first-degree murder in the death of Constable Pershala. McKenzie was out on bail while facing charges of assault and weapons-related offences. This led to Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre recently calling Canada's bail regulations a, quote, catch-and-release system in need of stricter rules. But on Wednesday, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh accused the Conservatives of playing politics with the issue.
It is common that the Conservatives would politicize issues around concerns around criminal justice. It seems to be something that Conservatives often do. It is a very serious matter. It should be taken seriously, and it shouldn't be something that's politicized. It should be about what we're doing to keep people safe and to keep our community safe, and not responding in a way that is overly charged with trying to win political points, but making a decision that is in the best interest of society.
And hundreds gathered in Barrie, Ontario to honor the Ontario Provincial Police Constable killed in the line of duty.
Constable Greg Pershala, you truly are a hero in life. Your sacrifice will never be forgotten.
The 28-year-old constable was shot dead last week while responding to a call for a vehicle in a ditch west of Hagersville, Ontario. He had been with the provincial police for just over a year. Today, his devastated family spoke for the first time.
Greg was the most courageous person I knew. He was always doing challenging things that he was afraid of. But courage, it's not about never being afraid. It's about doing the right thing despite being afraid. And really, it's a defining quality of all the police officers that are willing to risk their lives for us every day.
Greg died a hero, and he lived as an inspiration. I may have not said it often, but I love you, Greg, and you'll always be my big brother.
All right, and we want to hear what you think about some of the stories you've seen so far tonight. Here's how to continue the conversation. Send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. And today is National Ribbon Skirt Day. Across the country, many people wore their skirts and shirts to mark the event. It all began in Saskatchewan in December of 2020 when then 10-year-old Isabella Kulak from the Cody First Nation was sent home from a formal wear school event in Kamsack. A teacher's assistant told Isabella her ribbon skirt was not formal. Isabella felt shamed. She told her parents, and her grandmother posted the incident to Facebook, drawing international support. On January the 4th of 2021, supporters walked Isabella and her family to the school. A year later, the school apologized and declared January 4th Ribbon Skirt Day. In March of 2022, Saskatchewan Senator Mary Jane McCallum proposed a bill to recognize National Ribbon Skirt Day. The bill passed a few weeks ago, making today, January the 4th, the first official National Ribbon Skirt Day. And Ribbon Skirt Day sparked a movement of women and girls who wear ribbon skirts to showcase their pride and their culture. APTN's Tina House caught up with one designer in North Vancouver who says she is honored to make them for others.
Thank you. We're here on National Ribbon Skirt Day, and joining me today is Kanani Nahaney from the Squamish Nation. Kanani, you make such beautiful ribbon skirts. Tell me about how you started.
So I started sewing when I was 13 years old, making powwow regalia and our own Squamish regalia. And I started making ribbon skirts in about 2017 when a coworker had asked me to make her a ribbon skirt, and she gave me her colors. And sewing's just always been very therapeutic for me, and being able to provide self-expression and self-awareness, and just something very meaningful.
Amazing. You told me earlier that you work with young ones in care, and you've been able to gift them with some ribbon skirts. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yeah, so in my work with children in care as a roots practitioner, I've been able to travel to different communities, and a lot of it was across Canada. So being able to get their colors from their communities and to either make them ribbon skirts or have them teach them how to make their own ribbon skirts to show their identity and where they come from, and to go home and participate in ceremonies and powwows, and to be able to have that for them to show their pride and their own self-identity.
Yeah. Would you show us around your studio a little bit?
Yeah, please come in. So this is all of my ribbons. I like to have various colors as when I'm asked to make a ribbon skirt, everybody has their own vision and their own colors, whether they get their colors through ceremony or for their own reasons. So I like to have different colors on hand to be able to bring that vision to life. And these are some ribbon skirts that I've made for friends and relatives. Yeah, it keeps me very busy. It's very, like I said, it's very therapeutic, and yeah, it's just a good feeling to be able to provide that for somebody, whether it's a ribbon skirt or regalia, to show self-expression and who you are as an Indigenous person. That's really important to me, and following my teachings from my grandmother, my parents, and sewing. I come from a family of various artists in many different art forms, so sewing has always been something that I really took to at a young age, and yeah, it's just it's very valuable and priceless to be able to provide that for ceremony or powwows, whatever it is, or just everyday wear, and to just bring visions alive.
Kanani Nahaney, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful talents with us all. Thank you. Back to you in studio.
There's reaction to some threatening signs that were posted on Crown land in the Killarney area in north central Ontario. It's on land that borders two First Nations communities. CTV's Alana Everson reports.
The signs were hand-scrawled on cardboard with threatening, hateful, and profane language. They were recently found on Halifax Road off Highway 637, the road into Killarney. It's a harvesting area on Crown land for logging, hunting, and medicines. It's located next to Point Grandine, which is part of the Wikwemikong unceded territory.
You know, enough is enough. You know, start sharing the resources. Let's go back to the teachings, the treaty teachings, the wampum belt teachings. We have to educate these ignorant racists and tell them that.
Halifax Road also borders the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe Reserve, where members also harvest on the land.
My reaction is It saddens me that local people, or if it's not local people, that put these here signs up directing it to our First Nations people, our surrounding First Nations people. It's very sad that they feel that way.
So we are stewardship people of the land, and we do harvest to feed our families, and we share our areas, and yeah, we have rights. Aboriginal, call them Aboriginal rights.
The three men call the postings of the signs a hate crime and confirm it's been reported to the Wikwemikong Tribal Police. Alan Everson, CTV News, Point Grundine.
2023 could be a huge year for determining the future of Nunavut and how its lands are used. The Nunavut Planning Commission is prepared to release their final recommendations for a land use plan this year. The Nunavut Planning Commission will provide recommendations to the federal and territorial governments, as well as Nunavut Tungavik later this year. They have been working on this plan since 2007, and it sits at over 700 pages. It basically covers every use of land in the territory except for wildlife.
At the highest level, the plan guides resource development, land, air, water use for the Nunavut settlement area and the transboundary areas. And it is the largest land use plan of its kind in the world. And it also empowers and has been Inuit-led.
All right, it's time to step aside for a short break, but when we come back, Justice Harry Laforme will become a member of the Order of Canada. We'll chat with him next. Welcome back to APTN National News. Justice Harry Laforme has had a long and distinguished career in law. He's an Anishinaabe judge from the Mississaugas of New Credit First Nation in Ontario, and it was recently revealed that he will become a member of the Order of Canada. He joins us now to talk about what this means to him. Justice Laforme, thank you so much for taking some time, and congratulations as well. You're being honored for advancing Indigenous rights and as a groundbreaking jurist. What does this mean to you to be recognized like this?
Well, it means a lot because it's kind of a signal from the rest of Canada, you know, that what you've done has significance. It means something, and for it to be Indigenous rights, that's meaningful in the sense that I was a judge for 25 years. And that means that I think, anyways, that I hope it does, that I served our community well and I represented our community well. So I take it that way anyways, and that's very important to me.
Well, in 2004, you were the first ever Indigenous person to be appointed to the Ontario Court of Appeal. Yeah. Why did you choose law as a path? And looking back, what did it take to accomplish this?
Well, when I went to law school back in 1974, there were 4 Indigenous lawyers in Canada, in all of Canada. So I went into law because the political movement of the day was an answer and a wish to oppose the white paper policy of the Trudeau government of the day. So that's why I went into it. I worked with the Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians as their first executive director. That got me interested in law. I went to law. I got admitted into law school, and it was fabulous. I mean, I did that. Law was in its infancy at that time. There were no books or anything on Indigenous law, so it was a blank sheet of paper, and I got to put my footprints all over it.
Well, and you continue to advocate for Indigenous communities across Canada. Why is that so important to you as well?
Well, it's important to me, first of all, because it's just a continuation of what I've done since I was a young man. I come from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. I'm Anishinaabe. And that's very important to me. It's important that I think I honor my grandfather the right way and that I do that the right way. And there's a need, you know. I mean, Canada is a colonial state that has, put Indigenous people in a terrible position in life, and that there's a lot of work that is required to change that, and I want to be a part of that. And when I retired from the court, I believed that I still had some things to say, and I wanted to say them, and I wanted to be put in the position of it.
And Justice Laforme, the order is for your career of achievements, but is there maybe one thing in particular you'd like to be remembered for?
Yeah, I'd like to be remembered as the first Indigenous judge on an appellate court. I'd like to be remembered as one of the first 3 Indigenous judges when I got appointed to the court in 1994. And I say that because I want that to inspire other people, because I think, we live in a colonial state and we have to learn how to navigate that. And I think that means learning the law and learning the law of what we have to deal with. And that's happening more and more. I hope that I've inspired people and Indigenous people in that regard. I've been told that I have, and I hope that's true. And that's, I think, the most significant contribution.
And lastly here, when do you expect to make the trip out to Ottawa to collect your hardware?
Well, we got our hardware anyway, so that's a good thing. The investiture is probably not going to be till about a year from now. And maybe it's shorter, because I understand they're catching up. There's a backlog of these things. So I was told that we wouldn't do that but it would be something to go up there and get that honorific from Mary Simon. That would be ideal. I can't think of anything better.
Well, Justice Laforme, we'll have to leave it there. But again, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. And again, congratulations on the nomination.
Oh, thank you very much. Miigwech.
All right, it's time for one final break, but still ahead, a look at one young hockey player from the Yukon who is turning heads and making headlines. Welcome back to APTN National News. It's time now for our photo of the day. This comes to us from Barb Nielsen in the Riverport, Nova Scotia area, and she tells us about this dinner guest who has been cruising the winter foliage outside her home. Now, Barb also mentioned there's not a lot of snow along the ocean's edge in Nova Scotia, and I gotta say, I'm a little jealous of that. We want to see your photos, so send them to us by email to share@aptn.ca. All right, now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
Starting in the east, -6 in Clear and St. John's and 1 degree in Halifax. -21 in Kuujjuaq and -12 in Happy Valley Goose Bay. Some snow and -5 in Quebec City and 1 degree in Montreal. 4 degrees in Toronto and -4 in snow in North Bay. -9 in Clear and Sioux Lookout and -7 in Clear in Thunder Bay. -17 in Churchill and -10 in Thompson. -10 in Barons River and -10 in Winnipeg. -13 in Regina and -13 in North Battleford. -8 in Buffalo Narrows and snow and -13 in Stony Rapids. Making our way west, -11 in Fort Chipewyan and -15 in Peace River. Clear and -3 in Edmonton and -5 in Calgary. 7 degrees in Vancouver and -1 in Bella Coola. -4 and some snow in Smithers and -16 in Fort Nelson. Some snow and -6 in Whitehorse and -16 in Rock River. -24 in Norman Wells and snow and -11 in Yellowknife. Snow and -15 in Inuvik and -16 in Colville Lake. -32 in Cambridge Bay and snow and -25 in Baker Lake. Clear and -35 in Igloolik and -25 in Iqaluit.
Well, 2023 is off to a great start for a young First Nations hockey player from the Yukon who has a legitimate chance to make it to the big leagues. 15-year-old Gavin McKenna helped lead his team to victory at Calgary's Circle K Classic tournament, beating the Calgary Buffaloes 6-0. McKenna is a Trondheim Gwich'in First Nation citizen and a player for the South Alberta Hockey Academy. He made headlines last year after he was chosen as the first overall draft pick for the Medicine Hat Tigers in the Western Hockey League. McKenna also took home a handful of awards from the tournament, including MVP of the tournament and First Team All-Star.
I gotta give pretty much all the credit to my teammates. They're amazing, from the good goaltending to good defending, and then just producing up front we did good.
Back in November on In Focus, we continued our conversation around land-based education. We spoke with many organizations taking kids out of the classroom and onto the land. Here's a look at that November 23rd episode.
We depend on the land for, shelter, food, our medicines, and I think it's very important. It's very important to me, and it's very important I pass on the teachings to our students, because a lot of our students are so disconnected with the land, and when you're disconnected with the land, you don't know the importance of what the land provides us as humans, not only as Indigenous people, but as humans.
So, Bobby, why is it so important for the youth to learn these skills and to learn how to be on the land?
They're the next generation to look after our family trap lines, and I always try and teach them that to practice all their inherent rights, not just like trapping, but everything that goes with it, and then to respect the land, the animals, and understand how the animals move, what times of the year you trap them.
I've had students learn more by just walking around and observing than if I had been in a classroom pointing at a definition of a plant and showing a picture. It's a whole different experience getting out there, getting your hands dirty, and that experiential learning piece is really critical, I think, to having a memorable experience that the students can draw back from and continue to feel passionate and inspired.
It's really part of their identity of who they are, and we want to make sure that our footprint is on the land, that we use the land and take care of it as stewards of the land. And a lot of our students like being out there. It's not a hardship for them to be out there. As a matter of fact, a lot of them want to stay on even after the 5 days that they're there.
Now, as well, since our visit to Camp Morningstar 2 hours north of Winnipeg, the group is recovering from 2 fires at the camp. According to camp representatives, there were 2 fires shortly after APTN's visit in November. The cause of the fires are not yet known, but there was also more visits from schools for Camp Morningstar's land-based learning program. In a message to APTN, a spokesperson states, "We are now fundraising as the demands by our schools for our program has increased. Within a week of the fire, we borrowed teepees and tents and hosted 70 students." Well, it's certainly wonderful to hear that more schools and students want to be involved at the camp. That's all we have for you tonight on APTN National News. If you missed any of our show or you want to check out other stories, our website, aptnnews.ca, has you covered. I'm Daryl Stranger for all of us here. Thank you for joining us. Chimigwich, have a great night and look after each other.